ordered evacuations as wildfires broke out on Wednesday. High winds and dry conditions have helped fuel those fires, which are being blamed on a tree that fell on power lines. The fires are in the same area that is still feeling the impacts of Hurricane Helene. Kimberly King has more.
This was the view we saw as me and my photographer drove eastbound on I-40 towards the fire in Old Fort. As we pass this ridge, you can see the smoke that almost looks like the clouds behind it. But this is the fire. When we got off the exit, the first road we came up on was closed to traffic. Highway Patrol sharing that fire crews are here fighting the fire beyond the stop.
We just talked to somebody at State Highway Patrol, and obviously this is serious. He tells me that it is close to homes.
As we drove through the area, the rural residential community has been told to evacuate. We met Peggy Farmer at her house in Crooked Creek.
The wind was blowing really hard, and from what I understand, a tree fell, hit a power line, caused the fire. And then it just was a rapid onset.
Peggy, like so many other residents here, preparing, watering down their land, hoping the fires don't reach. High winds spreading the blaze.
Nervous, scared. I mean, obviously, I've just built this house from scratch, so I have a lot of anticipatory stress that I want to protect my investment, my home, and my everything. Everything is here. So naturally, me, along with probably 10,000 other people in this close proximity, are all feeling the same things.
And we want to bring you up to date on last night's collision between an American Airlines plane and an Army Black Hawk helicopter in D.C. It happened as the jet approached Reagan National Airport from Wichita, Kansas. Both the plane and the helicopter crashed into the icy Potomac River. Search and rescue operations have now moved into a recovery operation. None of the 64 people on the plane or 3 soldiers on that helicopter are believed to have survived. The search is being complicated by ice on the river and the overall water temperature as well. Meteorologist Veronica Johnson explains how quickly hypothermia can set in.
There's your perspective, Maryland, as well as D.C. We'll zoom right on in really tight to show you Reagan National there. So we're talking about this area right here in the Potomac. There's your runway, and that is the point in the water where the aircraft is in the water. And when you look at the amount of time that has passed since the aircraft went down, I mean, with hypothermia here, with a water temperature at 35 degrees, when it's less than 3 minutes, with no protective clothing, you start to lose dexterity. And when you're looking at somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes of being in the water, folks can easily go unconscious.
Throughout the day on the crash and the investigation on the nationalnewsdesk.com and many of these stations as well. Another earthquake rumbled off the coast of Maine Wednesday morning, just 2 days after a quake in the same area shook parts of the state on Monday. So why does this area keep rattling? Meteorologist Ryan Munn spoke to geophysicists to learn more.
First, it was the 3.8 magnitude earthquake on Monday morning off the coast of York. It had a lot of people in southern Maine beyond shook up. Then Kimmer. So why the sudden rumbles? We turned to a geophysicist to find out.
North America is spreading away from Europe and Africa, and at its western boundary, it's colliding into a couple plates, the Pacific Ocean plate and the Juan de Fuca plate. You can't put pressure on rock like that and keep squeezing it, because sooner or later it's going to crack and break. And that's what our small earthquakes are here in this part of North America. I would expect that there will be more aftershocks. If they're small, let's say magnitude 1.5, perhaps no one will feel them, although we can pick them up with our seismographs.
According to NOAA, earthquakes that occur underwater are not stronger or weaker than ones that happen on land. However, large underwater earthquakes can often have more devastating impacts due to their potential to generate a tsunami.
The magnitude of this was too small to generate a tsunami. If we had a magnitude, let's say 6.5 or 7 offshore, then we would be worried about a tsunami along the coast of New England.
In 1929, there was that sent a tsunami on shore of Newfoundland. So while New England has a tsunami threat, it's very low compared to other parts of the world.
Earthquakes happen less frequently on the East Coast compared to the West Coast. Meteorologist Christian Bridges explains why in a recent TikTok post.
Did you feel it? Well, on Monday, January 27th, a very rare magnitude 3.8 earthquake occurred off the coast of Maine, widely felt across New England. And see, from all of the people that reported feeling shaking, it ranged from Bangor, Maine, all the way down to New York City, a distance of about 400 miles. Now, on that same day, we had a very similar magnitude 4.0 earthquake that occurred off the coast of California. But you'll notice here in the reports of shaking, it only extends about 50 miles as opposed to 400 miles with the one that we saw off the coast of Maine. Why is this the case? Well, the U.S. Geological Survey, which measures earthquakes in the United States, has a great comparison between East Coast and West Coast earthquakes. On the East Coast, when we get an earthquake, because the rocks, the bedrock in the East Coast is so much older and denser than on the West Coast, that energy is able to spread out over a much bigger area, being felt by a lot more people.
As temperatures warm up on the East Coast, some cities are preparing for the possibility of flooding. One of those is Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which sits on the banks of the Susquehanna River. It's been covered in ice for weeks, but some are worried that as the ice melts, the river could overflow its banks. Additional rain and ice jams could also be factors as well. And a pair of new studies suggest the building blocks needed for life may have been delivered to Earth by an asteroid. In 2020, a NASA spacecraft collected samples from a near-Earth asteroid. Those samples arrived back here on Earth in 2023. Now, researchers detected 33 amino acids in their samples. Amino acids are some of the building blocks of life. Researchers also found components that make up the genetic code and DNA. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll hear much more about this from a NASA scientist. So look for that. And for more weather content, check out the National Weather Desk on YouTube. Just search the National Weather Desk on YouTube, and be sure to subscribe while you're there as well. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll show you how a lack of ice in the Great Lakes is causing an increase in lake effect snow for western New York. Plus, tips on staying safe if you want to get out on hiking trails this winter season.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. It's another wide range in temperatures in the Northeast today, but colder air is moving in. Most areas in the Northeast will top out in the 30s. A few spots may nudge 40 degrees, but we have a day filled with sun. The wind is active today. We'll have a gusty west-northwesterly wind. That's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Things start to change going into our Friday. A little storm system will bring rain to most of the Northeast. The exception will be over northern areas. Ski country will get a little bit of snow into Friday night.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We're dry for your Thursday. Temperatures will be a little bit cooler, and we are likely going to see some more clouds towards the end of the day. A system's approaching. This will bring rainfall across much of the Mid-Atlantic, if not all of it, and we'll continue to see that on Friday throughout the day before the system finally exits by the weekend. Temperatures a little cooler for tomorrow. We're looking at the 40s to low 50s. It'll be quite a bit more mild on Friday. We'll see 50s, even closing in on the 60s down south with that system approaching.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here's a look at your afternoon highs for today. Across much of the southeast, temperatures are seasonable, so where they should be for this time of year. We're tracking a low pressure system as it moves across parts of the southeast. Parent low pressure system is somewhere closer. Frontal boundary will move through Louisiana, Mississippi, then into Alabama by early Friday morning, heading into Georgia by the time we get to Friday afternoon.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
Northern California and the Pacific Northwest are preparing for what could be a weekend of soaking rain. The rain will come in several rounds starting tomorrow night. It's all to do with what's known as the atmospheric river. Ilya Neiman has more.
we're tracking this major change. I'm going to show you something we don't always see every time. This is atmospheric vorticity, or what you can call storm energy. Over the weekend, the high pressure sets up right overhead, but those reds and oranges are spinning around. Those are areas of storm energy, a low pressure zone delay. Look what happens towards Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That system stays put from Vancouver to Portland, and that draws a jet from the north of the Gulf of Alaska, connecting with a flow out of Hawaii. And what does that tell us? Well, that tells us Hawaii, think about pineapples, a pineapple express. An atmospheric river heads into Northern California for rain this weekend. For us, that remnant moisture could be pointing our way towards Tuesday and Wednesday, allowing us to get a little bit of a subtropical moisture tap.
Officials in North Carolina are urging climbers and hikers to exercise caution after a man fell nearly 50 feet while hiking in a state park. They say icy conditions on the trail were to blame. Casey Zanawick has the story.
Beautiful. It will humble you very quick.
A picturesque sight, but also a potentially dangerous one. Pilot Mountain Rescue Chief Elijah Childers and his team seeing those dangers early Friday morning.
In January, February, March, the mountain is freezing up there. The wind the wind chill is intense.
A simple mistake causing a man to fall about 50 feet while climbing in the Three Bears Gully area of Pilot Mountain State Park.
We do experience a lot of rescues off this mountain. I will say this is one of the more, I guess you could say, harsher ones.
It's a climb of medium difficulty, but recent weather made it that much harder than expected.
From the previous fire, that landscape has changed. From Hurricane Helene, that landscape has changed. And it had snowed and ice and everything just prior to. So it was a very difficult terrain getting down in.
Not just for hikers, but for those rescue teams as well.
Given patient condition and the terrain and the cold weather, it took a lot more out of our guys getting in and out than usual.
Childers now encouraging people to be aware during this time of year.
A lot of people go down in, they're cold very quickly.
And while conditions may not be as icy or cold anymore, officials still want people to remember these tips so they can enjoy beautiful trails just like this one all year round.
Know your limitations. Know what you can do. Know your surroundings. Have a buddy. Have fun ultimately, but make sure that everybody comes home safe at the end of the day.
The phenomenon known as ice shoves has returned to a lake in Wisconsin. It's all thanks to high winds, which has sent shanties skating across the ice. Audrey Lee has more.
Mother Nature is on the move, literally. Temperature swings and strong southwest winds earlier this week triggered ice shoves along some shorelines, even shoving ice shanties across Shawano Lake. Ice shoves aren't unusual in northeast Wisconsin, especially when we experience roller coaster temperatures during the middle of winter. As temperatures rise, ice expands, and when they drop, it contracts, causing cracks to form. When strong winds come into play, they shove sheets of ice towards the shore. Has been the perfect setup, but it can also be dangerous. Ice shanties that are not properly strapped down can be sent the ice in harm's way. More ice movement is likely as gusty winds continue through the weekend. This serves as a reminder, no ice is ever 100% safe.
Well, portions of western New York have seen a lot of lake effect snow this year. Conditions for lake effect snow depend on water temperature and also how much ice is on the Great Lakes. Meteorologist Violet Skyborg takes a look at current ice concentrations and why it's leading to that increase in lake effect snow.
Right now, the current ice concentration is completely covered on Lake Erie, but notice a lot of blue across the other Great Lakes, including Lake Ontario. So in total, when you sum up all the Great Lakes, it's about 22% coverage. Something to note, though, is Lake Erie has just formed this coating of ice in just the past 10 days. And that's because of some colder air that's been building in for this month of January alone. Comparing this year to last year, we had no ice on pretty much all of the Great Lakes, only about 10% coverage. So a big difference compared to last year. So Lake Erie right now is covered, but Lake Ontario is still seeing warm temperatures, or at least warm above that freezing mark. Temperatures across Lake Ontario and the rest of the Great Lakes range from 38 to 42 degrees. However, for lake effect snow to form, we not only need warm water, we need cold land and cold air temperatures that are being dragged across the Great Lakes. We didn't see that in December. It was a very warm month, but this month we've now been seeing that colder air. As that cold air is drawn across the Great Lakes, it picks up that water vapor or moisture, condenses it, and then drops it as snow as it moves directly inland. And that's why we've been seeing a lot more lake effect this month alone in central New York, because warmer water means more snow, and of course we need that cold air. Plus some other factors include instability and wind shear in order for that lake effect snow to develop.
As Violet mentioned, large portions of northeast Wisconsin have seen below average snowfall and warmer than overall temperatures this winter. We turn again to meteorologist Audrey Lee, who looks at how farmers in the state are navigating the challenging conditions.
The snow-covered fields we're used to seeing during the month of January are completely bare in parts of northeast Wisconsin. While it makes travel easier, it raises the question about how these conditions are affecting local farms. For one dairy farmer, it has pros and cons.
As far as the farm operations go and the snow affecting them, it's been very easy because there hasn't been snow to plow. It keeps our feed consistent. We're not adding moisture to the feed. So overall, the lack of snow hasn't been too detrimental at this point in the year yet.
Our recent roller coaster of temperatures also brings challenges for dairy farmers.
Anytime there's the big temperature swings, there's increased risk for respiratory disease in cattle.
Winter snow allows for moisture in the soil, so without it, spring planting can bring uncertainty.
We had moisture going into fall, and we'll hope for some moisture in spring. If we can catch some snow here in the next couple weeks, that would be ideal to build up the groundwater moisture.
It's still too early to tell if this winter season will have any effects on crops, such as alfalfa.
It'll be about April, early April, before our agronomists will go out and start digging roots and see if we have any winter kill alfalfa. So until we get to that point, it's really hard to tell if there's any negative effects.
For now, farmers will be playing the waiting game to see the full impact of this unusual winter season, with soil moisture and planting conditions likely being the deciding factors.
And time now for a short break, but first we head to Europe for a flight over glorious lavender fields.
Michael, rain moving its way in from the south into the Ohio Valley for later today, but a lot of sunshine out across the Dakotas and northern plains. Even some sunshine there in Green Bay and close to the Great Lakes for the day today. Heading into the day tomorrow, that of us on Saturday.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We've got some showers and storms stretching out all the way from Dallas down to San Antonio, rain down to Corpus. Drier and nice and cool back out to the west. The reason why? Pacific fold front moving through. That could bring some big storms into Arkansas and to Louisiana a little bit later today. Temperature-wise, we'll be warming up nicely. It'll be spring to the south, much cooler up to the north.
I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Things finally about to change out west. We've got the sunshine for one more day in the PNW, but the clouds are pushing in quickly to Seattle and Portland. Look at the beautiful blue skies waiting for you over the Four Corners region. 60s out of Phoenix and Tucson. Mountain snow showers pushing off the backside of the Rockies outside of Denver. And here comes that wet weather to wrap up the month of January as we head into the end of the week. And that's the scene from here.
We'll ever wonder how cemeteries bury people in the dead of winter when the ground is frozen? Meteorologist Grayson Frun shows us how it's done.
This is something that all cemeteries have to hammer. It's specially designed for this purpose, and it uses liquid propane or LP gas, and we run that several hours, sometimes overnight, to be able to make sure that the depth gets properly defrosted.
The warmer is placed directly onto the desired digging location and is lined with sand, creating a barrier to keep the heat from escaping. It's connected to a gas tank which will generate heat, gradually melting the ice and softening the ground. And depending on how deep the frost goes, it can take up to 10 to 15 hours for the ground to reach temperatures suitable for digging. Electric heating blankets or even bags of burning charcoal are other methods cemeteries may use to help thaw the ground.
And if you're looking for more weather news and video, check out us on social media. You can find us on your favorite social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.